I took $200,000 from a mafia boss. 4 days later, I was standing in a cathedral full of killers, holding a gun under my dress, realizing the man who hired me was supposed to die that night. But let me rewind. My name is Iris, and I'm a public defender, which means I spend my days fighting for people everyone else has given up on. Drug dealers, thieves, sometimes worse. But nothing prepared me for the day Dominic Valente walked back into my world. I was packing up my office when my assistant knocked. Her face was white. "There's someone here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment. He won't leave. Tell them office hours are—" "It's Dominic Valente." My pen clattered onto the desk. 2 years ago, I'd destroyed him in court. Cost him millions. Watched federal agents lead his associates away in handcuffs while he sat there, perfectly still, watching me with those dark eyes that promised he wouldn't forget my face. And he hadn't. "Send him in," I heard myself say. He filled the doorway. 6'3", expensive suit hair dark enough to disappear in shadows, but it was his hands I noticed first. Scarred knuckles, the kind you get from hitting things, or people. "Miss Cadwell." His voice was smooth, controlled. "I have a business proposition. I don't work for men like you anymore. You haven't heard my offer." He sat down without being invited. The leather chair creaked under his weight. From his jacket, he pulled a plain envelope and slid it across my desk. I didn't touch it. "What is this?" "Open it." Inside was a check, $200,000, made out to me. My hands started shaking before I could stop them. "My brother's getting married in 4 days, Dominic said. His eyes never left my face. "I need a date." I laughed. Couldn't help it. "You're offering me $200,000 to be your wedding date?" "Yes." "You're insane." "That's the offer." My throat went dry. $200,000, the exact amount I needed for Elena's surgery. My 17-year-old sister, lying in a hospital bed with a heart that was failing. The insurance company had denied the claim twice. The experimental procedure was her only chance, and I had 2 weeks to come up with money I didn't have. He knew. Somehow, this man knew exactly what I needed. "How do you know about my sister?" Something flickered across his face. Not quite guilt, not quite sympathy. "I make it my business to know things." "That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting." He leaned forward. 4 days, 1 weekend. You show up on my arm, smile for the cameras, play the role. Monday morning, the money's yours. Your sister gets her surgery. I wanted to throw the check in his face, tell him to get out, but Elena's face kept floating through my mind. The way she'd smiled last week when I visited, trying to be brave, even though we both knew the clock was running out. The question came out quieter than I intended. "Why do you, actuator, want me? You could hire any woman in this city." "I don't want any woman." His jaw tightened. "I want you. Because I humiliated you in court? Because you're the only person who's beaten me in 2 years, and everyone in my world knows it." He stood, buttoning his jacket. "My enemies will see you and wonder what game I'm playing. My allies will see strength. And my family?" He paused at the door. "They'll see someone who can hold her own. You're using me as a shield. I'm offering you a lifeline. What you call it doesn't change the math." He was right. I hated that he was right. "There's something else." I kept my voice steady. "You're leaving something out." For the first time, his mask cracked, just for a second. "Smart. That's why I chose you." "What aren't you telling me?" He reached into his jacket again. This time, he pulled out a photograph, placed it face down on my desk. "Turn it over after I leave. You'll understand." "Dominic, 4 days, Iris. The clock's already running." He moved toward the door, then stopped. Without turning around, he said, "Your sister, Elena Cadwell, 17 years old, heart condition. She has a scar on her left shoulder, doesn't she?" The floor dropped out from under me. "How do you know that?" But he was already gone. My hands trembled as I reached for the photograph. Flipped it over. It was Elena. 3 years ago. Younger, thinner, lying in a hospital bed. But that wasn't what made my blood run cold. In the corner of the photo, barely visible, was a newspaper. The date was clear. August 15th, 3 years ago. The day of the Jefferson Street massacre. I remembered that day. Everyone in the city remembered. 2 rival crews opened fire in broad daylight. 5 people died. Dozens injured. Elena had been caught in the crossfire. Emergency surgery to remove shrapnel from near her heart. The scar on her shoulder, the one Dominic just mentioned, came from that day. But here's what didn't make sense. Elena survived when she shouldn't have. The doctors said it was a miracle, that someone had called 911 before the shooting even started, that an ambulance was already 2 blocks away, that someone had known what was coming. My office suddenly felt too small, too cold. I grabbed my phone, pulled up the old news articles I'd obsessively read back then, scrolled through names of the dead, the injured, the suspects, and there, buried in a footnote, was a detail I'd missed. Sources indicate the attack was called off midway through execution. Reason unknown. Called off. Someone had stopped the shooting. Someone had saved my sister's life. And Dominic Valente knew about it. The contract sat on my desk, unsigned. $200,000. 4 days. 1 weekend of playing pretend with a man who terrified me. A man who somehow, impossibly, might be the reason Elena was still alive. I picked up my pen. My hand was steadier than I expected. When I walked into his club that night, contract in hand, Dominic was waiting. He didn't look surprised, just nodded once, like he'd known I'd come. I have conditions, I said. Name them? I want the truth, about Elena, about that day. His expression went cold. That's not part of the deal. Then there is no deal. We stared at each other across the dim room. Music thumped from somewhere below us. Men in expensive suits watched us from the shadows, hands resting near concealed weapons. Finally, Dominic spoke. After the wedding, you play your part, I'll tell you everything. How do I know you'll keep your word? Because if I wanted to lie to you, I would have lied already. He held out his hand. Do we have a deal, Miss Cadwell? I looked at his outstretched hand. Scarred knuckles. Blood under his fingernails that he'd tried to scrub clean. I thought about Elena, about the surgery she needed, about answers I'd been searching for without even knowing it. I shook his hand. His grip was firm, warm, dangerous. One more thing, he said, not letting go. There's a man in my organization. Victor, stay away from him. Why? Because he's going to try to warn you away from me. And when he does... Dominic's thumb brushed across my knuckles. Don't listen. He released my hand and walked away, leaving me standing there with more questions than answers. But I didn't know, couldn't have known, that Victor's warning would come too late, or that in 4 days I'd be the only thing standing between Dominic and a bullet with his name on it. The dress he sent cost a fortune. Hidden in the tissue paper was a loaded gun and a note that read, "You might need this." The box arrived at my apartment at 6 a.m. No warning. Just a knock on my door and a driver in a black suit who said, Miss Cadwell, I'm here to take you to the estate. Now? Mr. Valente doesn't wait. The drive took 40 minutes. Out of the city, through gates that looked like they could stop a tank, past security checkpoints where men with dead eyes looked through the tinted windows without ever seeing me. The Valente estate rose from the morning fog like something out of a dream. Or a nightmare. Stone walls, gardens that stretched forever, fountains that probably ran on money instead of water. The driver opened my door. Someone will meet you inside. The foyer smelled like old money and older secrets. Marble floors caught the click of my shoes, bouncing the sound back at me like the house was listening, watching. You must be the lawyer. I turned. A woman stood on the staircase, one hand trailing down the banister. Mid-20s. Beautiful in that calculated way some people are. Dark hair pulled back so tight it must have hurt. Camilla, she said, not offering her hand. I'm marrying Dominic's brother in 3 days, which means I need to make sure you don't embarrass this family. Nice to meet you too. Her smile was sharp enough to cut. Follow me. She led me through hallways lined with portraits of dead men who all had Dominic's eyes. We passed rooms with closed doors. I heard voices behind one, angry, in Italian. Someone said Dominic's name, then something that sounded like a curse. Camilla didn't slow down. The fitting room was bigger than my entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling mirrors. A woman with silver hair and measuring tape draped around her neck like a weapon weighted by a dress form. The dress hanging there stole my breath. Midnight blue. Silk that caught light like water, cut low enough to be dangerous, but high enough to leave questions. Try it on, Camilla said. It wasn't a request. The silver-haired woman, she never gave her name, had hands like ice. She zipped me up, adjusted the straps, pinned here and there without speaking. The dress fit like it had been made for my body specifically, which meant Dominic had my measurements. Somehow. He has good taste, Camilla said from behind me. I met her eyes in the mirror. When he wants something, he gets it. You should remember that. Is that a threat? It's a fact. She stepped closer. Her perfume was suffocating, roses and something sharper underneath. You're temporary, a prop. Don't forget which world you're stepping into. The door opened before I could respond. Dominic filled the doorway. He wore dark slacks and a white shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. There was a fresh bruise on his jaw I hadn't noticed before. His eyes found mine in the mirror. Something in his expression shifted. Leave us, he said. Camilla's mouth tightened. We're not finished. Leave. She left. The seamstress followed, taking her pins and her cold hands with her. The door clicked shut. We were alone. You didn't have to do that, I said. She was being rude. He moved closer, not touching, just close enough that I could smell coffee and expensive cologne and something metallic, copper, blood. What happened to your face? Business discussion that got heated. He said it like it was nothing, like violence was just another meeting. Turn around. I did. The dress whispered against my skin. His eyes traced the neckline, the way the fabric clung to my ribs. It fits. How did you know my size? I pay attention. He reached past me, picked up a jewelry box from the counter. Inside was a necklace that made my stomach drop. Diamonds. Real ones. Catching light like trapped stars. I can't wear that. You can, you will. He lifted it from the box. My mother wore this at her wedding. It sends a message. What message? That you're under my protection, that touching you means war. He moved behind me. The necklace settled against my collarbone, cold and heavy. His fingers brushed the nape of my neck as he fastened the clasp. I watched in the mirror as his hands lingered, just for a second. His thumb traced the chain where it met my skin. There's something you need to understand, he said quietly. His breath stirred my hair. This wedding isn't a celebration. It's a negotiation. Two families who've been killing each other for 20 years, agreeing to stop. My brother marries Camilla. Her father gets access to our shipping routes. We get peace. And if something goes wrong, then people die. He met my eyes in the mirror. That's why you're here. Everyone will be so busy wondering what game I'm playing by bringing you. They won't notice the real moves happening. So I'm a distraction. Your protection. For me. For my brother. For everyone in that room who thinks they're safe. His hands fell away from my neck. Get changed. We need to go over the family dynamics. Names, faces, who to smile at, who to avoid. I turned to face him. The photo you showed me, of Elena. You said you'd explain after the wedding. I did. Tell me now. No. Dominic. After. His voice went hard. You keep your end of the bargain. I keep mine. He left before I could argue. I spent the next 2 hours memorizing faces from photographs. Dominic's Uncle Thomas. Avoid him, he's volatile. His cousin Nina, safe to talk to, hates the violence. Camila's father, Raphael. Smile, nod, say nothing substantial. And Victor. Dominic's oldest friend, his right hand, the man who'd been with him since they were kids running numbers for their fathers. Victor's dangerous, Dominic said, tapping the photo. He doesn't trust outsiders. Does he trust you? With my life. But something in his voice didn't match the words. The sun was setting when I finally escaped to use the bathroom. The hallways were quieter now, darker. I took a wrong turn and ended up in a wing that smelled like leather and cigars. That's when I saw the office door, slightly open. I should have kept walking, should have minded my business. But through the gap, I saw file cabinets, and on the desk, papers spread out like evidence at a crime scene. I pushed the door open. The files were meticulous. News clippings, police reports, hospital records, all dated 3 years ago, all about the Jefferson Street massacre. My hands shook as I flipped through them. There, Elena's admission papers, surgery records, and underneath, a handwritten note in bold, angry script. Call it off. Civilian child present. Abort immediately. The signature at the bottom made my vision blur. Dominic Valente. You shouldn't be in here. I spun around. A man stood in the doorway. Older than Dominic. Harder. Scar running from his temple to his jaw. Victor. I got lost. I managed. No, you didn't. He closed the door behind him. Locked it. You're looking for answers about your sister. My throat closed up. Dominic saved her life that day, Victor said. His voice was rough, tired. Called off the hit. Cost him territory. Cost him respect. Men died because he hesitated. He moved closer. Whatever you think you know about him, you're wrong. And you're going to get hurt. He made a deal. He makes a lot of deals. Doesn't mean he keeps them. Victor's hand went to his jacket. For a terrible second, I thought he was reaching for a weapon. Instead, he pulled out a business card. When this goes bad, and it will go bad, you call this number. They'll get you out. Who are you calling? But he was already unlocking the door, opening it. Stay away from him, Miss Cadwell. He destroys everything he touches. He disappeared into the hallway. I stood there, Elena's hospital records in one hand, Victor's card in the other, wondering which betrayal would come first. The driver took me home after midnight. The dress box sat beside me. The gun hidden underneath the tissue paper was heavier than it looked. I held it in my apartment, checking the safety like my father taught me before he died. Loaded. Ready. Dominic had given me a weapon. The question was, who was I supposed to shoot? I walked into that wedding on his arm, and every person in the room looked at me like I was already dead. The ceremony was at a cathedral that had probably witnessed 100 years of Valente family secrets. Stone walls, stained glass that turned sunlight into blood-red patterns on the floor. Pews filled with men in expensive suits and women dripping in jewelry that could fund a small country. Dominic's hand pressed against the small of my back. Possessive, protective. The line between the two was thinner than the silk of my dress. Smile, he murmured. You're supposed to be enjoying yourself. I'm surrounded by murderers. You're a public defender. This shouldn't be new. My clients don't carry guns to weddings. His laugh was quiet, dark. Yes, they do. They just hide them better. We sat in the third row, family section. I felt eyes on us from every direction, whispers that died when Dominic looked their way. He had that effect, like gravity, like violence waiting to happen. The bride entered to strings and piano. Camilla looked like something out of a magazine. White dress that probably cost 6 figures. Veil like a waterfall. Her father walked her down the aisle, and when their eyes met Dominic's, something passed between the two men. Not friendship, strategy. Matteo waited at the altar, Dominic's younger brother. Softer somehow, less sharp around the edges. When Camilla reached him, he looked at her like she was the only person in the room. I wondered if anyone had ever looked at me like that. Do you believe in love? I whispered. Dominic didn't look at me. I believe in loyalty. It lasts longer. The ceremony was beautiful, traditional. The priest spoke about unity and commitment and forever, words that felt hollow in a room full of people who solve problems with bullets. But when Mateo kissed his bride, something in the room shifted, softened. Maybe even men like these wanted to believe in happy endings. The reception was at the estate. Gardens lit with thousands of string lights, tables covered in white linen and flowers I couldn't name. Music drifted from a live band playing something slow in Italian. Dominic never left my side. Dominic! A man approached, arms wide, older, silver hair, smile that didn't reach his eyes. Introduce me to your beautiful companion. Uncle Thomas. Dominic's voice went flat. This is Iris. Thomas took my hand, kissed it. His lips were cold. A lawyer, I heard. How fascinating. Tell me, Kara, do you defend him in court or in life? Neither. I'm just here for the weekend. Ah, a temporary arrangement. His eyes slid to Dominic. Those tend to end badly in our family. We should find our seats, Dominic said. His grip on my elbow tightened. We moved through the crowd. Names and faces blurred together. Everyone wanted to meet me. Everyone had questions hidden behind polite conversation. Who was I? Where did I come from? What was I doing with Dominic Valente? I smiled, lied, played my part. You're good at this, Dominic said as we finally reached our table. At what? Lying, pretending. I learned from the best. I looked at him. You've been doing it your whole life, haven't you? Something flickered across his face, gone before I could name it. Sit. Dinner's about to start. The food was incredible. Course after course. Wine that tasted like liquid gold. Conversations in Italian and English, sometimes switching mid-sentence. I caught words here and there. Business, territory, the shipment arriving Tuesday. Mateo stood to give a toast. His voice cracked when he talked about finding Camilla, about second chances and new beginnings, about hoping their families could finally leave the violence behind. The room applauded, but I noticed the men who didn't, the ones whose smiles were made of knives. Your brother really believes this will work, I said quietly. The peace. He wants to. Dominic's jaw tightened. That's enough for now. But you don't believe it. I believe in being prepared when it falls apart. The band started playing. Couples moved to the dance floor. Mateo and Camilla first. Then others joined. Swaying under lights that made everything look softer than it was. Dominic stood, offered his hand. Dance with me. You do, or we wouldn't be here. His eyes held mine. Trust me, just for 3 minutes. I took his hand. He led me onto the floor. His palm settled against my waist. My hand found his shoulder. The music wrapped around us, slow and aching. You're tense, he said. I'm terrified. Of me? Of all of this. I looked up at him. Of what happens when the weekend ends, and I go back to my life and you go back to yours. His thumb traced small circles on my back. What if you didn't have to? My breath caught. Don't. Don't what? Don't say things you don't mean. Don't pretend this is real. My voice dropped to barely a whisper. I know what this is. A transaction. $200,000 for 4 days of pretending. And if I told you it stopped being pretend somewhere between the dress and right now? I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But before I could respond, I saw him over Dominic's shoulder. Victor. He stood at the edge of the dance floor, phone pressed to his ear. His face was wrong. Too pale, too tight. Our eyes met across the crowd. He mouthed one word. Run. The music kept playing. Couples kept swaying. Everything looked normal. But Victor's hand moved inside his jacket, reaching for something. Dominic, I said. My voice sounded far away. Something's wrong. He started to turn. That's when the first gunshot rang out. The champagne glass in my hand exploded the same second the bullet passed through where my head had been. Dominic's body slammed into mine. We hit the ground hard. My ears rang. Screaming erupted from every direction. More gunshots, glass shattering. The band stopped mid-note. Stay down, Dominic growled. His weight pinned me to the floor. I felt something warm and wet on my arm. Blood. His or mine, I couldn't tell. He rolled off me, pulled a gun from somewhere I couldn't see. Don't move. Don't run. Then he was up, moving, shooting. The world became chaos and noise. Tables overturned, flowers and food scattered across marble. Women in gowns crawled toward exits. Men in suits pulled weapons from hidden holsters and fired back. I couldn't see the attackers, just masked figures in black, moving through the crowd with terrible purpose. They weren't shooting randomly. They had targets. One of them raised his gun toward Dominic's back. "Dominic!" I screamed. He spun, fired twice. The masked man dropped, but there were more, so many more. Someone grabbed my arm. I twisted, ready to fight. Victor. Blood ran down the side of his face from a cut above his eye. "Get behind the bar," he shouted over the gunfire. "Stay there." "What's happening?" "Coup." He shoved me toward cover. "They're here for Dominic." I stumbled toward the overturned bar, crawled behind it. My dress caught on broken glass and tore. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold myself up. Through the gaps between bottles and wood, I watched the massacre. Dominic moved like death itself, precise, efficient. Every shot found a target. But they kept coming, wave after wave. Matteo sheltered Camilla behind the wedding table. His gun hand was steady. The soft man from the ceremony had disappeared. This was the other side of the Valenti coin. I heard someone shouting orders, not the attackers, someone coordinating them. My courtroom instincts kicked in. The voice, male, calm, despite the chaos. He knew the layout of this place, knew where people would run, where they would hide. Inside job. I peeked around the bar, tried to trace the voice. There, a man in a suit, no mask, speaking into a radio, directing the attackers towards specific targets. I knew that face. I'd seen it in Dominic's photos. Paolo, his advisor, his friend for 15 years. He stood near the kitchen entrance, 20 feet from where Dominic fought for his life. Paolo's gun was drawn, but he wasn't shooting attackers. He was aiming at Dominic's blind spot. Everything slowed down. I saw Paolo's finger tighten on the trigger, saw Dominic's back exposed as he reloaded, saw my own hands moving before my brain caught up. I burst from behind the bar, sprinted across broken glass in bare feet. The gun from the dress box was suddenly in my hand. When had I grabbed it? "Dominic!" I screamed. Paolo turned, saw me running at him. His gun swung toward me instead. I didn't think, didn't aim, just crashed into him with all my weight. His gun fired. The bullet went wide. We hit the ground hard. He was stronger, bigger. His hands found my throat. "Stupid girl," he hissed. "You should have stayed out of this." Black spots danced in my vision. My lungs burned. Then his grip released. Victor stood over us, gun pointed at Paolo's head. "Move, and I paint these nice floors with your brain." Paolo raised his hands. The gunfire was dying down. The attackers were retreating, or dead. Security flooded in from every entrance. Dominic appeared through the smoke, blood on his face, his shirt torn, his eyes wild until they found me on the floor. "Iris." He dropped beside me. His hands ran over my arms, my face checking for injuries. "Are you hurt?" I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe right, just shook my head. He pulled me against his chest. His heart hammered against my cheek. "You should have stayed hidden. He was going to kill you. So you tried to get yourself killed instead?" His voice cracked. "That wasn't the deal." "The deal didn't include a war zone." He almost laughed. Almost. Security had Paolo on his knees, hands behind his head. Victor kept his gun trained on him. "Why?" Matteo demanded. He left Camilla with her father and crossed to Paolo. Blood soaked his white shirt. 15 years. You've been family. Why?" Paolo spat blood. "You think this peace means anything? You think marrying into the Moretti family makes you legitimate?" He looked at Dominic. "You've gone soft. Bringing lawyers to family events, calling off hits because of civilian kids. Real leaders don't hesitate. Real leaders don't betray their brothers," Dominic said quietly. "You stopped being my brother when you stopped being ruthless." Paolo's smile was ugly. This was supposed to be clean, quick. Frame it as Moretti retaliation, but his eyes cut to me. She had to play hero. Victor grabbed Paolo's collar. Who else is involved? This wasn't just you. Figure it out yourself. Dominic pulled me to my feet. Take him to the basement. I'll deal with him later. Security dragged Paolo away. His threats echoed through the ruined reception hall. I looked around. Bodies covered with white tablecloths, blood on marble. The wedding cake destroyed. Guests huddled in corners, some crying, some on phones, some just staring at nothing. Camilla stood perfectly still, not a hair out of place. Her white dress pristine, her face blank. Something about her expression made my stomach turn. Dominic, I said slowly. Paolo said this was supposed to be framed as Moretti retaliation. He was lying, trying to start a war. But what if he wasn't? I watched Camilla, the way her eyes tracked the security teams, the way her hands stayed steady when everyone else shook. What if someone wanted both families weakened? Dominic followed my gaze. His face went hard. Victor, he called. Pull the security footage, now. I want to see who Paolo was communicating with. Victor disappeared toward the security office. I sat down on an overturned chair. My legs finally gave out. The adrenaline was fading. Everything hurt. My feet were cut from the glass. My throat ached where Paolo had choked me. My dress was ruined. Dominic knelt in front of me, gentle now, careful. Let me see your feet. I'm fine. You're bleeding. He pulled glass from my skin with steady hands. Each piece clinked onto the marble. He used his torn shirt to wrap my feet. His touch was surprisingly soft. You saved my life, he said without looking up. You've saved mine. We're even. That's not how this works. Then how does it work? He finally met my eyes. I don't know anymore. Victor returned. His face was ashen. Boss, you need to see this. We followed him to the security office. Multiple screens showed different angles of the reception. Victor rewound the footage. There, 30 minutes before the attack. Paolo in the hallway, on his phone. Can you track the call? Dominic asked. Already did. Victor pulled up another screen. It went to a burner, but there's more. He switched cameras, showed another hallway, another timestamp. Camilla, in her wedding dress, also on her phone, also 30 minutes before the attack. Check who she called, I said. Victor's fingers flew over keys. The number appeared on screen. It matched Paolo's burner. The bride had been coordinating with the traitor. Dominic's hand clenched into a fist. Find her. Now. But before anyone could move, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me swipe to accept. Iris Cadwell? A woman's voice. Professional. Cold. Yes? This is Special Agent Richardson, FBI. We're currently surrounding the Valenti estate. You need to come out with your hands visible. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit racketeering and money laundering. The phone slipped from my fingers. Dominic caught it. Listened. His face drained of color. What? I whispered. What's happening? He lowered the phone. Someone tipped off the FBI, told them you've been working with my organization for years, that tonight was a planned hit to consolidate power. That's insane. I just met you 4 days ago. They have evidence, financial records, emails, photos. His voice was hollow. Someone's been building a case against you for months. Victor pulled up. Another email on the screen. Time-stamped from this morning, sent to the FBI from an anonymous account. The subject line read, Evidence of Iris Cadwell's criminal conspiracy with Valenti organization. Attached were documents I'd never seen. Bank statements showing deposits to accounts I didn't have. Emails I'd never sent. Photos of me meeting with Dominic that had been doctored to look like they'd taken place over years, not days. This is a setup, I said. My voice sounded distant. Someone's framing me. Paolo, Dominic said, or whoever he's working with. They knew you'd be here, knew you'd be with me. His hands curled into fists. They're destroying you to get to me. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows. FBI, this is your final warning. I looked at Dominic, at Victor, at the screen showing federal agents taking positions around the estate. I'm going to prison, I heard myself say. Elena won't get her surgery. My career is over. Everything I've worked for. Dominic grabbed my shoulders. Look at me. Look at me. I met his eyes. I'm not letting them take you, he said. Do you understand? I don't care what I have to burn down. You're not going to prison for my sins. You can't stop the FBI. His smile was sharp, dangerous. Watch me. He turned to Victor. Call my lawyers, all of them, then call Judge Morrison. Wake him up. I don't care if it's his daughter's wedding. Get him on the phone. Dominic, and find Camilla. She's behind this, all of it. Paolo was just her weapon. The pieces clicked together in my head. The peace treaty wedding, the inside attack, the FBI showing up at the exact right moment. Camilla hadn't married into the family to unite them. She'd married in to destroy them both. And I was her collateral damage. If you found yourself caught between impossible choices, what would you sacrifice? Drop your thoughts below, and hit subscribe because this story is about to get even darker. You won't want to miss what happens when Iris discovers the full truth about that night 3 years ago. I had 30 seconds to explain why I'd been investigating him for 3 years before he decided whether to protect me or bury me. The FBI pounded on the doors. Windows rattled. Voices on megaphones demanded surrender. Dominic's gun sat on the desk between us. His eyes were flat, cold. The man who'd wrapped my bleeding feet was gone. This was the crime boss, the killer. Start talking, he said. Victor stood at the door, weapon drawn, ready for whatever came next. My throat was raw. 3 years ago, Elena almost died in your crossfire. I know. I stopped it. But I didn't know that then. I just knew my baby sister went to buy milk and came home in an ambulance with shrapnel in her chest. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The doctors said she was lucky, that someone called 911 before the shooting started, that the ambulance was already close, that the attack stopped halfway through. So you came after me. I came after the truth. I stood up despite my cut feet. Every case I took against you, every time I tore apart your alibis in court, I wasn't just doing my job, I was studying you, trying to figure out if you were capable of mercy or if my sister surviving was just dumb luck. Dominic's jaw tightened. And? I found the paper trail, shell companies paying Elena's hospital bills, protection details that appeared and disappeared without explanation, money showing up in accounts when we needed it most. Tears burned my eyes. You've been watching over her for 3 years, keeping her safe, and I needed to know why a man like you would do that. The pounding got louder. This is your final warning. Open the doors or we breach. Tell him the rest, Victor said quietly. Tell him what you found in the files. I looked at Dominic, really looked at him, the scar above his eyebrow, the way he held himself like he was waiting for the next blow, the exhaustion carved into his face. I found your sister's death certificate, I whispered. Adriana Valente, 16 years old, died 8 years ago, leukemia. Something cracked in his expression. The day of the Jefferson Street job, you were reviewing targets, standard territory hit, but one of your men sent you a photo of the area, civilians present. Among them, a teenage girl in a hospital transport van. My voice broke. She looked like your sister, same age, same dark hair, fighting for her life just like Adriana did. Dominic turned away. His shoulders were rigid. You called it off. Lost $1 million in territory. Lost respect from your own men. Paolo and the others never forgave you for it. I moved closer. You saved Elena because you couldn't save your sister. And it cost you everything. It cost me nothing I wasn't willing to pay. His voice was rough, broken. That girl didn't deserve to die for my war. Neither did Elena. But Paolo used it against you, told people you'd gone soft, that you couldn't make hard choices anymore. He wasn't wrong. Yes, he was. I grabbed his arm, made him look at me. You made the hardest choice. You chose humanity over power. That's not weakness. That's... The doors exploded inward. FBI agents flooded the office, weapons raised, shouting orders. Hands up, now! Dominic raised his hands slowly. Victor did the same. I stood frozen. A woman in a dark suit pushed through the agents. 50. Cold eyes, badge on her belt. Dominic Valente, Iris Cadwell, you're both under arrest. On what charges? Dominic's voice was steady. Conspiracy, racketeering, murder, take your pick. She nodded at agents. Cuff them. Wait. I stepped forward. You're making a mistake. Those files you received, they're fabricated. I met Dominic 4 days ago. Everything else is fake. We have 3 years of evidence says otherwise. Then your evidence is planted. My legal brain kicked into gear. Check the metadata. Check the source. Someone is setting us both up. The agent, Richardson, her badge said, smiled. That's what they all say? They pulled Dominic's hands behind his back. Metal cuffs clicked shut. Don't. He looked at me. Don't make this worse. I'm not letting you take the fall for something you didn't do. I've done plenty I should fall for. His eyes held mine. But you haven't. And I'm not letting them destroy you. Richardson moved toward me with cuffs. That's when Victor's phone rang. He didn't answer it, just looked at the screen. His face went white. Boss, he said, you need to see this. Little busy, Victor. It's about the bride. Everyone stopped. Victor turned his phone around. Security footage played, time-stamped from 30 minutes ago. Camilla in the destroyed reception hall, on her phone, not crying, not scared, smiling. Send the FBI now. Her voice came through clearly. Both families are weakened. Dominic's distracted by his lawyer. It's perfect. She listened to someone on the other end. Yes, I have the evidence ready. Financial records, emails. Everything pointing to Iris Cadwell working with the Valentes for years. She laughed, cold, calculated. She's the perfect scapegoat, public defender with access, history fighting them in court. No one will question it. And the shooting? Paolo played his part. Now he's expendable. Camilla checked her watch. By tomorrow, both families will be tearing each other apart. The FBI will have Dominic, and I'll control everything. The footage cut out. Silence. Richardson's face had changed. Where is Camilla Moretti now? Gone, Victor said. She disappeared during the chaos. But I can tell you where she's running. Talk. She's not Moretti family, not really. Victor pulled up files on his phone. Her real name is Camilla Russo, daughter of Antonio Russo, the man Dominic's father killed 15 years ago to take control of the port. My stomach dropped. This whole thing was revenge, Victor continued. She infiltrated the Moretti family, convinced them a peace treaty was possible, married Matteo to get inside, then orchestrated everything to destroy both families at once. Richardson looked at Dominic, then at me, the cuffs on his wrists. Uncuff him, she said. Ma'am, that's an order, and get me a warrant for Camilla Russo. I want every airport and border crossing locked down. The agents released Dominic. He rubbed his wrists, stared at Richardson. You believe us? I believe the evidence, which now shows you're both victims of an elaborate frame job. She turned to me. Miss Cadwell, I apologize. You're free to go. What about the charges? Being dropped, all of them. Richardson headed for the door. But I'll need statements, from both of you, about everything. The FBI streamed out, shouting orders, coordinating the manhunt. Victor closed the door behind them. The office fell silent. I looked at Dominic. He looked at me. You really investigated me for 3 years? He asked. I really did. Found all my secrets. Most of them. And you still showed up when I needed you. My throat tightened. You saved my sister's life. That means something. He moved closer. Slow, careful, like I might run. It means everything. His hand cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone. I destroyed your career, put you in danger, almost got you arrested. You also protected the person I love most, sacrificed your empire to clear my name. I leaned into his touch. We're complicated. That's one word for it. What's another? He smiled, soft, real, the first genuine smile I'd ever seen on his face. Worth it. You're worth it. He kissed me. Not rough, not desperate, just honest. His lips against mine like a promise, like the beginning of something neither of us expected. When we pulled apart, Victor was pointedly studying the ceiling. I'll just give you two a moment. Victor, Dominic said. Yeah, boss. Thank you for everything tonight. Victor's face softened. That's what brothers do, even when they're not blood. He left us alone. I rested my forehead against Dominic's chest. His heartbeat was strong, steady, real. What happens now? I asked. Now? He tilted my chin up. Now I keep my promise. I tell you everything about that day, about Elena, about why I chose her life over my empire. And after that, I have a choice to make. His eyes held mine. I can stay in this world, keep running the family, keep making decisions that put people like you in danger, or I can walk away, find out who Dominic Valente is when he's not a crime boss. His hand tightened on my waist. Build something legitimate, something that doesn't get innocent people hurt. That's a big change. You're a big reason. My phone buzzed. Elena, texting from the hospital. Surgery is scheduled for next week. The money came through. I love you so much. I showed Dominic the message. You kept your word. I always do, when it matters. Outside, sirens wailed. Helicopters circled. The manhunt for Camilla was underway. But in that office, for just a moment, it was quiet. Just two people who'd found each other in the worst possible circumstances. And somehow, impossibly, decided to try. He walked out to face federal prosecutors with his hands up and an offer that would either save me or destroy us both. 2 days after the wedding massacre, I sat in my apartment staring at my phone. 43 missed calls, 27 emails, all from the Bar Association, my colleagues, former clients. The headlines were everywhere. Public defender caught in Mafia crossfire. Lawyer or criminal? The Iris Cadwell story. Valente family wedding ends in bloodbath. My face was on every news channel. Even with the charges dropped, the damage was done. My boss called at 7 a.m. Iris, we need to talk. I knew what was coming. The partners met last night. Given the circumstances, we think it's best if you take a leave of absence. Indefinite. I didn't do anything wrong. The optics are terrible. Clients are pulling cases. The press is camped outside our building. He sighed. I'm sorry, but this is bigger than one lawyer. They fired me in everything but name. I sat on my couch, staring at my law degree on the wall. 10 years of school, 5 years building my career, gone in 4 days. My phone rang. Dominic. Don't, I said when I answered. You haven't heard what I'm going to say. You're going to apologize. Tell me you'll fix this. Make it right. I closed my eyes. But you can't fix this. My reputation is destroyed. No firm will touch me. I'm radioactive. Then burn it all down and start over. Easy for you to say. Actually, it's the hardest thing I've ever said. His voice softened. Meet me at the courthouse. 2 hours. There's something you need to see. Dominic, trust me. One last time. He hung up. I almost didn't go. Almost stayed in my apartment and let the world forget about me. But something in his voice made me move. The courthouse steps were packed with reporters. I pushed through them, ignoring questions. Cameras flashed, microphones thrust in my face. Miss Cadwell, are you in a relationship with Dominic Valente? Did you know about the attack? Is it true you've been working for organized crime? I kept walking. Inside, the marble halls echoed with footsteps. Federal prosecutors lined the hallways, lawyers in expensive suits, all heading to the same courtroom. Victor met me at the doors. He's inside. What's happening? Something stupid and brave. Probably both. He pushed the doors open. The courtroom was full. Federal agents, prosecutors. Mateo sat in the front row, his face drawn. And at the defendant's table, Dominic, in a suit that made him look almost respectable. His lawyer beside him. But his eyes were on the judge. I slid into the back row. My heart pounded. The judge, Morrison, the one Dominic had called that night, looked grim. Mr. Valente, you requested this emergency hearing. Explain. Dominic stood. Your Honor, I'm here to make a deal. The lead prosecutor, a shark named Williams, smirked. We don't negotiate with... Shut up and listen. Dominic's voice cut through the room. For the past 2 days, I've been compiling evidence. Financial records, communications, video footage, everything you need to dismantle Camila Russo's network. Williams leaned forward. We're listening. She's been bribing federal agents. I have names, bank accounts, recordings of conversations. Dominic pulled out a flash drive. Everything's on here. Enough to put away dirty agents and the people she's been working with for years. And what do you want in exchange? Dominic looked at me. His eyes held mine across the courtroom. Complete immunity for Iris Cadwell. Every charge dropped. Her record expunged. Full reinstatement with the bar. My breath stopped. And for yourself? The judge asked. Nothing. I'll cooperate fully. Testify, whatever you need. You're offering to flip on your own organization for nothing? I'm offering to flip on everyone. Dominic's voice was steady. Paulo's network, the corrupt agents, everyone involved in the frame job. But Iris walks free. That's non-negotiable. William stood. She's already free. Charges were dropped. Charges were dropped, but her career is destroyed. Her reputation is ruined. She can't get a job because everyone thinks she's compromised. Dominic turned to the judge. I want it in writing. From the FBI, from the Bar Association. Full exoneration, public statement clearing her name. That's not how this works, William said. Then no deal. Dominic pocketed the flash drive. Good luck catching Camilla without my help. Silence. The judge looked at Williams. Step outside. Discuss this with your team. Williams glared at Dominic. This is blackmail. This is justice. There's a difference. They filed out. The courtroom buzzed with whispered conversations. I stood. Walked down the aisle. Dominic saw me coming. His lawyer tried to stop me. Miss Cadwell, you shouldn't... Give us a minute. He stepped away. I grabbed Dominic's arm, pulled him toward the corner. What are you doing? What I should have done from the beginning, protecting you. By destroying yourself? By testifying against your own people? My voice cracked. They'll kill you. You know that. They'll try. Dominic, I've spent 15 years building an empire on blood and fear. I've made decisions that haunt me every day, hurt people, destroyed families. His hands framed my face. But I'm not letting you pay for my choices. Not your career, not your future, not your life. I can rebuild on my own. You shouldn't have to. This is my fault, all of it. His thumb brushed my cheek. Let me do one good thing. One clean thing. For you. This isn't clean. This is suicide. Then it's a death worth dying for. I wanted to hit him. Wanted to scream. Wanted to drag him out of this courthouse and run somewhere they'd never find us. But I saw it in his eyes. The decision was already made. I hate you, I whispered. No, you don't. I should. But you don't. The doors opened. Williams returned. His face was tight. You have a deal. Full immunity for Iris Cadwell. Public exoneration. Written statement from the FBI clearing her name. Bar reinstatement. Relief crashed through me, then horror. And what does Dominic get? Reduced sentence, 5 years, minimum security, for full cooperation. 5 years, in prison, for saving me. Dominic nodded. I'll take it. No, I started. It's done, Iris. He looked at me. It's worth it. You're worth it. They processed the paperwork. Dominic signed. I watched his name scroll across the documents. Watched him trade his freedom for, mine. When they led him away in handcuffs, he looked back once, smiled, and disappeared through the doors. 6 months later, I stood outside the federal courthouse on a morning that smelled like rain. The Bar Association had reinstated my license. The FBI's public statement had cleared my name. Job offers came flooding in, firms that wanted the lawyer who'd survived a mafia war. I'd turned them all down. Instead, I'd used Dominic's $200,000 to start a foundation, helping families caught in impossible situations, medical bills, legal fees, the kind of problems that made people desperate enough to make deals with devils. Elena was healthy, thriving, starting college next month with a full scholarship. Everything had worked out. Except I hadn't seen Dominic in 6 months. Prison visits were complicated. He'd refused them at first, said he didn't want me to see him behind glass. But today was different. Today he was getting out. Early release, for cooperation, for testimony that had brought down Camilla's entire network and exposed corruption at the highest levels. The courthouse doors opened, and there he was, thinner, harder, a new scar above his left eye, but alive, free. Our eyes met across the steps. He smiled, that soft, real smile that was mine alone. I ran, crashed into him. His arms wrapped around me, held me like he'd been drowning and I was air. "Hi," he whispered against my hair. "Hi yourself. I heard you started a foundation. I had some startup capital, figured I should use it for good." He pulled back, looked at me. "You're beautiful. I forgot how beautiful." "You're a disaster. I forgot how much of a disaster." Fair. We stood there, on the courthouse steps, while life moved around us, lawyers and criminals and everyone in between. "What now?" I asked. "Now?" He took my hand. "Now I figure out who I am when I'm not running from something or towards something, just existing." "That sounds boring." "Terrifying, actually." "Want company?" His fingers laced with mine. "Only if it's you." We walked down the steps together, toward my car, toward whatever came next. "There's a cafe 3 blocks from here," I said. "Good coffee, quiet. We could talk about normal things, like normal people." "I don't know how to be normal." "Neither do I. We'll figure it out together." He stopped walking, pulled me close. "Iris Cadwell, 6 months ago, I hired you to be my fake date for 1 weekend. Worst business decision you ever made. Best business decision I ever made." His forehead rested against mine. "And I've made a lot of bad ones." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying next family wedding that comes around." He pulled a small box from his pocket. Worn velvet, probably older than both of us. My heart stopped. "Might need to be ours," he finished. I looked at the box, at him, at the impossible future we were standing in. "Is that a proposal?" "It's a question. Will you take a chance on a reformed criminal with terrible social skills and a family that will probably drive you insane?" I thought about Elena, about the surgery that saved her life, about 4 days that changed everything, about a man who'd sacrificed his empire to protect someone he barely knew, about second chances and impossible choices and love that survived bullets and betrayal. "Yes," I said, "on one condition." "Name it." "You let me be the one who handles all future legal problems." He laughed. Real, deep, beautiful. "Deal." He slipped the ring on my finger, his mother's ring, the same one I'd worn at the wedding that started everything. But this time, it wasn't pretend. This time, it was real. 6 months ago, I was his fake date. Today, I'm the only real thing in his life, and he's the only one in mine. The cafe smelled like coffee beans and cinnamon. Morning light filtered through windows that needed cleaning. Old couples read newspapers. Students typed on laptops. The world kept turning like nothing extraordinary had happened. But everything had changed. Dominic ordered black coffee. I got something complicated with too much foam. We sat by the window where we could watch the city wake up. "Elena starts college next week," I said. "I know. She sent me a letter, thanked me for the scholarship fund." "You didn't have to do that." Yes, I did. He reached across the table, took my hand. She's the reason we're here. Everything started with her. His thumb traced circles on my palm. The touch was familiar now, comfortable. We'd spent 6 months writing letters, phone calls when the prison allowed it, building something real from the wreckage. Mateo wants to meet for dinner, he said. Tomorrow night, if you're free. How is he? Angry, hurt, but healing? Dominic's jaw tightened. He really loved her, Camila, or whoever she was pretending to be. Have they found her? Last I heard, she's somewhere in South America, but the FBI's still looking. He sipped his coffee. Doesn't matter. She can run, but she can't hide forever. I watched him, the way he held his cup, the way his eyes scanned the cafe, still checking exits, still calculating threats. Some habits would never die. What did you do in there? I asked quietly. For 6 months. Thought. A lot. He set down his cup. Read books, took classes, business management, accounting, boring, legitimate things. Planning your next empire? Planning my first legitimate one. His eyes met mine. I sold everything. All my father's businesses, the ports, the clubs, the things I can't talk about without incriminating myself. Dominic, I kept one building, downtown, older place, good bones. I'm thinking community center, job training, help people who need second chances. My throat tightened. That's not profitable. I don't need profit anymore. I need purpose. And you think running a community center gives you that? I think trying to undo some of the damage I've caused gives me that. He leaned forward. I can't bring back the people I've hurt, can't erase the things I've done, but maybe I can stop someone else from making my mistakes. I squeezed his hand. That's good. Really good. Don't cry. I'm not crying. You're definitely crying. I laughed through the tears. Shut up. We sat there, drinking coffee, watching the city, 2 people who'd survived impossible odds. I'm scared, he admitted quietly. Of what? Of being boring? Of being normal? He looked at me. Of disappointing you when you realize I'm just a man with a criminal record and no idea how to function in normal society. Dominic Valente, you gave up everything to save my career. You spent 6 months in prison to clear my name. You chose humanity over power. I leaned across the table. You could never disappoint me. What if I can't adjust? What if I'm too broken? Then we'll be broken together. I kissed his knuckles, the scarred ones that told stories he'd never fully share. I'm not going anywhere. His phone buzzed. He ignored it. You can check that. It's Victor, sending his 100th text about the building permits. Dominic smiled. He thinks I'm insane, starting legitimate businesses. Are you? Probably. He pulled me to my feet. Come on, I want to show you something. We left the cafe, walked 3 blocks. The city was waking up fully now. Traffic, noise, life. He stopped in front of a building, 5 stories, red brick, windows that caught morning light. This is it, he said. Your community center? Our community center, if you want to be involved. I looked at the building, at him, at the future taking shape in front of us. I'm in. Yeah? Yeah. He pulled me close, kissed me slow, deep, like we had all the time in the world, like we weren't standing on a busy sidewalk with morning commuters pushing past. When we pulled apart, he was grinning. What? I asked. Nothing, just, I never thought I'd be the guy who gets the girl and the legitimate business and the second chance. Life's funny that way. Life's terrifying that way. But worth it? He looked at me. Really looked at me. The way he had that first night in his club, like I was the solution to a problem he hadn't known how to solve. Yeah, he said. Definitely worth it. We stood there, in front of our building, planning our impossible future. Behind us, the city we'd both fought for in different ways kept moving. Ahead of us, a life nobody expected, least of all us. And as Dominic Valente kissed me one more time in the morning light, I realized something. Sometimes the most dangerous gamble is the one on love. But sometimes it's the only bet worth making. Sometimes you meet the wrong person at the wrong time, and they become the only right thing in your life. Sometimes broken people build the strongest foundations. And sometimes, when you stop running from your past, you finally find your future. This was ours. Imperfect. Complicated. Real. And I wouldn't change a single thing. Have you ever made a choice that terrified you but changed everything? Ever loved someone everyone said you shouldn't? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. And if you believe in second chances, redemption, and love that fights back against impossible odds, hit that subscribe button. Because at Midnight Love Stories, we're just getting started. There are more dangerous men, impossible choices, and hearts that refuse to quit coming your way. Welcome to the family.